All right, so I like to give it just a couple of seconds, but I want to say hello and welcome everybody to Ask the Expert. So thank you for joining us. I have two guests this week for the first time, which is really exciting. My name is Ann McClure, and I'm a residential realtor with McInerney Associates Realtors. I'm licensed and I work by referral in Northern Virginia and Montgomery County, Maryland, and a couple other adjoining counties. And I've got partners across the river in DC. But we can help you find good realtors anywhere. If you're watching this in another part of the country and you need a good realtor, I'm tied into the Good Realtor Network. You probably didn't know that was an official thing, but it is. And I have joining me today, Chris Dvorak. Can you wave, Chris?
Hello, everybody.
And Peter Toohey. And they are architects with 2E Architects. And we're going to get into a little bit of information about them in more detail here in a minute. I wanted to say to those of you maybe watching for the first time, the Ask the Expert was born out of the pandemic. There are a few good things that happened as a result of this pandemic. And one is that we realized that we wanted to take an event we had done live in usually like an Irish pub or something, where we invite our clients and our friends, and we would invite several contractors, and we would call it Ask the Expert, and our clients and friends would come with their questions, and everybody would mosey around with drinks and appetizers and get to ask their questions of several really good local service providers. And what happened was, when the pandemic hit, we still wanted to get really good information out to people, but we also wanted to highlight really good quality, small, local businesses, service providers, and expose their business as and create some opportunity for them, and create a knowledge base for our clients and a set of resources they could turn to. So that's what this is. This is the online version of Ask the Expert, and we're so happy you joined us today. We are going to make this available on my website. It'll be on YouTube. It will be on our Facebook page. And we're also going to make it available to our two architect friends, so they'll have a copy should you want to review it later, or send it along to somebody. We love when you share the Ask the Experts with other people. So thank you again for tuning in today. And thank you to my guests. So here's what I want to say about Peter and Chris, is that they are award-winning architects. They are brilliant at design, conceiving of a way to showcase a house and the design elements of a property. It could be a condo also, or they work on new construction, and they like big redos, big renovations or remodels throughout the whole house. Mm-hmm. And they are very, very talented. And what I've learned about them is they're not just talented in terms of what they create, which is more than beautiful. It's strategically beautiful. And we can explain more of that later. But they also are very practical and technical. And I've noticed working with two of them together, one of them will pick up where the other one leaves off, in terms of their talents and abilities. So I'd say Chris is a bit more technical. And I would say that Peter, a little bit, I would say that Peter is sort of has this amazing vision for what can be in a house. And they work they just meld together like, I was going to say nitro and glycerin, not necessarily a great thing, but they are white and rice, maybe we say. But anyway, they are a fantastic team, and we're going to get to hear from them today all about architecture, but how to know when you need an architect, how to plan for, how to budget. And also they do something that's so cool, which is virtual reality designs. And that really cuts back on aspects of the process that can be costly, that can be take a lot of extra time, that can lead to mistakes. So you're going to hear all about it today, and we're so happy you joined us. So thanks again, guys, for joining.
Well, it's great to be here.
Yeah, totally agree. Thanks for having us.
Of course. And I will say that these guys have won many awards. They have an interesting mix of old school design. They're very passionate about their design, timeless quality designs. And then they have a high-tech touch, especially with the virtual reality I mentioned. So I would invite you to visit their website. Let's see, you guys, I'm looking, I should have looked.
Yeah, so it's 2E dash, so hyphen architects.com. So architects with an S.com.
And that's just the number 2 and letter E. So
exactly.
And they are licensed and can work for you in Maryland, DC, Virginia, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey. And they've actually done designs elsewhere that haven't come to fruition, but they have done designs elsewhere. So,
Yeah, New Hampshire was
so-
one. I did one in California too for a friend.
see, good. So you can spread the wealth around some of our states here. So, I always like to start with a very brief market update, and I'm going to make this one extra brief because I want to get to all of our good material. But the market remains incredibly fast-paced. We do not have enough inventory. If you're watching this and you've been thinking of selling, I would confidently tell you now is the time. Sell and then leave the area. Just sort of teasing, but it is a great time to sell because record highs and people are waiving contingencies, and it's just sort of an unprecedented time in the marketplace. I'll share with you one quick stat, one factoid. In 2019, before the pandemic ever hit, the average time that a property, regardless of type, price, condo, house, multi-level, contemporary, Cape Cod, it didn't matter. Metro area, so Maryland, DC, Virginia, the average home was spending 29.2 days on the market before it got a contract. That was pre-pandemic. So you compare that to now, 17.8 days on the market. It's the fastest market we've seen. I mean, I'm talking to people who've been here 35, 40 years and they've never seen anything like this. So if you know folks thinking of selling, tell them it's a really good time. If you don't think people thinking of buying, give them your sympathies. I'm just kidding. It's a good time to buy. The interest rates are great, you guys. Seriously, we have a lot of buyers and they're doing just fine and they're very happy to be in their homes. So guys, without further ado, as we've discussed time and time again, in the last year, the housing market's super competitive. Demand is high and supply is low. Buyers are settling for not so perfect homes, but they're in the right location and they meet their needs, maybe school district, commute, whatever it is, price point. So then they get in the house and they're thinking, what can I do to make this house feel like mine? Because I had to compromise in other ways. And so they're pulling down existing walls and they're opening up spaces, they're adding rooms, they're completing new floors. Sometimes, as you all know, they're just tearing down and starting over. So they're not buying their dream homes. Those days aren't what we're experiencing right now, but they're creating their dream homes in a lot of cases. And the interest rates, again, guys, remember, you can get well-priced money right now. So you can budget for this. In fact, Peter, Chris, and I were speaking with somebody recently who's thinking of moving here from out of the area doing that. So our guests, again, Peter and Chris from 2E Architects, have a lot to share with us today. And in full disclosure, I will share with you that they are helping me renovate a house. And it is in process right now, walls torn apart. And yeah, it's really exciting to see the plans come to fruition. So, offline, if somebody sees this and has questions, reach out to me. I'm happy to answer whatever I can. We've finalized the design and gotten permits, and we're in the demo and already framing phase. So the first thing I want to do is share a video with you. And this is a video that explains a little bit about how they work. And there aren't a lot of architects that do what they do, but we wanted you all to see what is possible in the architecture field and how it can help you make good decisions. And then after that, we'll hear from them, okay? So Jennifer's our Wizard of Oz behind the scenes here. Jennifer, you would play that video, that'd be great.
Yeah, so this, I don't know if you can hear me. Can they hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the concept design. So this is very early in the design process. We like to give our clients the visual information so they can make very, very confident decisions. Is this the right color house? Does the front door have the right, level of oomph, majesty, and do we have the right style and everything like that? So we get this very, very early in the process, and then from this kind of a video, this is actually a condensed version of the presentation that Brian and Sandy got. We cut it in about half for this. I love this, because with virtual reality, we can show you exactly what the sun's going to do every minute of every day. And so this is just 1 day's worth of sun in 20 seconds. Yeah, so that's beautiful. It's showing this is the south face of the house. Now it's coming down to evening. And then we always do a nice pan out, majestically showing the house at the sunset. It's always a good way to end the video. So what that helps with is, lots of times architects will do drawings, right? And that's just extremely, it just puts a lot of pressure on clients to mentally translate the drawing into 3 dimensions, right? And so Chris and I, together try to make that seamless. So, my little joke is if you can pop popcorn, you can be our clients because you're going to be watching the videos. And there's no, you can't be wrong, so you look at the video, if you don't like it, that's because you're right. Whereas when you look at a drawing, that's not always the case. Drawings can be equally as illuminating as they are sort of confusing, both.
Yes, I totally agree.
Right. And I would say floor plans are the easiest to read. But then once you look at an elevation, those are the ones that, because of the ins and outs of a house, those can get confusing. But anyways, but I just love that we give our clients this, I don't know if a gift is the right word, it's not really a gift, but the ability to make such confident decisions. And I just love that. They see it, they know it.
And we're gonna see some before and after pictures a little bit further into this, which shows people sort of what the concept you came up with and then what it looked like in reality. Yeah. But I will tell you that for me, when you shared the video with me, it was really emotional. Like it makes you, it's kind of, you go from a very pragmatic standpoint, just looking at the blueprints, and then all of a sudden it's like we added a skylight over the stairs, and you put a lady standing in that room, and the sun from the skylight was hitting her, how it will hit her. And it just made me think how pretty that room will be, and it's really great to see it come to fruition before it comes to fruition. Right. Yeah. So you get emotionally invested in it. Very smart of you guys.
So what I say, and again, it's because, we come up with a good idea and then Chris models it unbelievably well, like extremely accurately. So when you said Chris is a little bit more technical and I went like this.
Yeah. Your hand, so much that your hands are off the edges of the screen.
But the point is that the very best drawing is going to show you maybe what the house looks like. That's what the best drawings can do.
Right.
The worst virtual reality is going to do that easily, right? That's going to show you what the house looks like. But really great virtual reality will show you what that house feels like. And and so that's that. And then no drawing has ever done that. So not one drawing ever. So. And
I know you all, I said it in the beginning, you primarily focus on designing new homes or doing a big reno of an existing property, AKA a whole house remodel. So how should a home owner first approach working with you or other architects? Like, what's that first step look like? And then do you recommend, tied to that they come to you with a wish list or list of ideas?
Yeah, so so normally early on the process, specifically if you're designing a new house, then you're probably into an architect, right? But if you're doing a whole house remodel, you're taking out some walls and stuff like that, some people think, well, maybe I could do that with just the contractor. That's a possibility to think about. And so people do, and some contractors will know immediately, no, this is going to be too much. You probably want someone to really think about the design. And I like that thinking because the design is where you actually live, and we tailored the design right to you, right? So, and that's important, to your happiness, really, right? And so the people feel at home, they have that feeling, this is my home because I've always wanted this and this and this, and then Chris and I bring it to you. And so yes, come with your list of hopes, needs, wants, and dreams, and I want to see that and then the first step of our process is going to be to ask a million questions, right? And we have a questionnaire for that, And then we're going to, do these follow-up questions to delve like deep into what's going to make you happy. So it's a good process.
Yeah, that's what creates the vision, right? So,
Right.
So Chris, let's hear from you. Can you walk us through the design process? You shared a graphic.
Yeah, so the design process, we go from concept design is the beginning. After the interview, we go to concept design, then design development and permit. The way our process works is we do a design, we create the virtual reality, we get the approval from the owner, and then we get a cost estimate at each stage along the way, and then rinse and repeat, because there's going to be changes, there's going to be things that affect it. So as you see in the concept design up there, we'll do a floor plan and an exterior elevation and a virtual reality video of the front of the house and get the initial cost estimate. We'll make tweaks and changes in the design development phase, and then complete all the elevations at that phase, do more virtual reality, and get another cost estimate. And then during the permit set, the virtual reality in the design development will also include interiors potentially. And then into the permit set, we will have done interior virtual reality movies as well as exterior, and involve the engineer in that process to identify problem areas with the virtual reality model. And again, get the final permit cost estimate. So.
Very cool. Yeah, it's nice to see the process. And I like how you have dreams, aspirations, and goals for the house or how you live. I mean, it doesn't have to be just the house. Maybe it's family entertainment, and that's the goal. And, I love that you have that here, and that's central to your process. So this is very helpful to see. As we're talking about, like, one of the things that really sets you guys apart that I've really liked is the virtual reality. We've already talked about some of the benefits of it, walking through it, the emotional impact, the practical aspect, oh, this is how the light's going to come in. Well, maybe I should tweak this or that. As you talked about, Chris, different phases the cost may change as you look at it in different stages, right? So what are some of the advantages, like specific advantages of using the virtual reality in your design process? And does it significantly increase the cost of design or bring it down? How does that impact the cost of design?
Yeah, so I'll take this one, Chris. So the first answer to the question is yes, it increases our fees, but I think simultaneously it's going to lower the cost of the build, right? So we're trying to fight against what we call change orders. So those are changes during the construction phase. They're called change orders. Mm-hmm. And so, our fee goes up, but the change order price goes down, which is, so we call it a wash. I actually think it's in the client's best interest, but for two reasons. One is, with the advantages of virtual reality are enormous. Chris is extremely precise when he puts in the designs of the homes that we do. And it's not just the house, so it's the site. So the site's sloping down. Is it 11 feet or is it 12? If it's 12, it goes down another 6 inches. Chris doesn't like 6 inches, isn't like, oh no, we don't worry about 6 inches. So Chris, it's precise. So like as just one example, we were talking to a couple and there was a rock outcropping and they wanted that to be in their site model too. And so like, yeah, so I could imagine Chris putting it in there. And so do we see that rock outcropping from the kitchen window or not? And the answer is going to be very clear. It's not going to be, you're not going to have to guess about that. So and that's, I guess, what I like about virtual reality. There's no guessing. You're right all of the time. And so, but it's really for people who are very visual people and just want to be right. And so that's the and things like changing. Oh, here I see this.
So good.
Yeah, so you could see like so this is a house we designed, Chris and I, in 2019. It got built in 2020, and those two are just really close. I mean, they just really are.
Oh yeah, incredible.
Right, and it's and again, it's like do you see that horizontal piece between the stone wall and then the glass above?
Yes.
I mean, Chris modeled that to, within a quarter of an inch. Those windows that are in the model are the exact size of the windows in the house.
Incredible.
Yeah, and the color is exact, so anyway, so it makes decisions easy, for our clients, because they don't have to wonder about whether or not they completely understand the drawings or not. Our clients always understand the drawings because we don't spend a lot of time looking at the drawings. We look at virtual reality.
Yeah.
It also helps when we deal with the engineer, because we can show the engineer a three-dimensional detail of problem areas in the construction to explain it to him so that he knows what he's designing for, right? Sometimes you give them a plan and section, they understand it, but if you can visually show them what we're trying to do with our design, they can come up with the structural engineering necessary much easier. It saves time on their ends as well.
Right.
Yeah, it seems to help everybody. I mean, I remember sitting down with you all and we were talking about windows. And I don't like mullions in windows, but of course it depends on the architectural style, right? They look great on some houses. It's just my personal thing.
Yep.
And we tried windows with mullions. Those, for those folks watching who don't know, they're the cross pieces you see between or on the outside, depending on what kind of window, of the panes of glass that, form up the little panes you have, the divided light windows you might have heard, or
right.
Anyway, so we tried mullions on the top and the bottom, and then we tried no mullions at all, and then we did mullions on the top and not on the bottom, and all three of us were watching as Chris just did his mastery, and all of a sudden all three of us were like, that's the one, when we hit on the combination we liked. So Chris, I don't know, do you want to add anything? We've gone into a little detail here, but about, without getting too technical, about how you do it behind the scenes, or do you feel like we've covered a lot?
We've covered some of it, but yeah, I spend a lot of time, it was a big switch for me coming from a 2D drafting office 15, 20 years ago into virtual reality type modeling. It was a whole different way of thinking about the building. Now, when I draw a building, I am drawing it in 3 dimensions from the start. I'm basically building the house in the computer so that I totally can understand what the contractor is going to face in terms of problems. And I can show the contractor in more detail by doing it that way. So it's changed the way I think. I've always been 3-dimensional. When I could look at a set of plans, I could see it 3-dimensionally. But now I actually think it's like learning a new language. And so drawing in ArchiCAD in our 3D program, it was like learning a new language. And now that I learned that new language, I don't think in 2D anymore. When somebody comes to me with 2D elevations and plans, I'm like, why are we drawing like this? Why are we not drawing it?
Yeah.
Let me just add just a teeny bit to that, because Chris does even more than that, because he's every step of the way he's drawing for the permit drawings, right, that we need to submit to the county. But at the back of his head, every step of the way, he's also drawing for the virtual reality. And we don't want that to be this wide detour. It's got to be these little bumps, otherwise nobody could afford it, right? So Chris is simultaneously, how is this going to work in virtual reality, and how is this also going to work, which are 2 different things. And I don't know anyone that does that as well as Chris. I literally don't know a single.
Well, you bring up one of his talents, very well, Peter. And I would, both of you are incredible. But, another thing that I wanted to ask, it relates to the cost estimate, which I think Chris is also very good at. But and I'm going to ask Peter this question, Chris, because you might not want to talk as much about yourself. Do you do a cost estimate, or should someone rely solely on the contractor for that? When should someone get their contractor involved?
So I like our process, and we bring the contractors in early. And so we get multiple cost estimates with usually 2 contractors, and it's real contractors. So they really know the cost, no estimating. And so that gives our clients, this firm grasp of reality, because they see the virtual reality of the house, but then this firm grasp of the reality of the budget. And so between knowing the budget and knowing the virtual reality, they know. And and then how the 2 sometimes like, we raise the ceiling 7 feet, let's just say, and that upped the budget. Oh my goodness, we can't afford that. Bring it back down. Or, wow, that didn't cost as much as I thought it would. Maybe we should do another 2 feet. Either way, it's fine, because
Yeah, I keep thinking of myself in this process, and I don't mean to be arrogant. I don't usually make these about me, but I do have good real life examples. Which, remember when we realized we could raise the ceiling of the breezeway, and all three of us were surprised by how little it costs to do that.
Correct.
So, yeah. So, Chris, I will say I have been very impressed with how you're a defender of the budget. And you've called me at several points and said, hey, let's look at this. I think we could do a little better here. And I really appreciate that. And for referring my clients or friends to you, I can confidently say that about you guys. Like, not only design brilliance, but they're mindful of your budget. And it's true, it's earnest. So speaking of which, we've all, HGTV has kind of killed us realtors because everyone wants every house Chip and Joanna, shiplap here. And then there's, of course, the 1980s movie with Tom Hanks, The Money Pit, which I hope a lot of people watching this have seen. So you kind of expect one thing with some of these projects when you start the work, and then you find out, unexpected foundation issues or whatever it is. And as architects, how do you mitigate these kinds of things? And is it just something the homeowner should expect, that there will be problems along the way? And how do they budget for unplanned surprises? I put a lot in that.
Yeah, do you want to take that, Chris? And I'll just.
Yeah, I'll start, and Peter, chime in. But the contingency costs and change orders and stuff, as the slide shows here, the U.S. average is 18%, almost 20%. And what we strive for with virtual reality is obviously zero. We want to try and identify all the problems that could come up during construction beforehand, so that we can try and solve them. We don't solve all of them before construction, but at least everybody's on the same page and knows the potential issues once we get out there. And the reality is we get it to close to 10% or less, because we can see things ahead of time. We can cut a section through the building at any location that we have a question on. Whereas in the past, drawing two-dimensional, you might only cut one or two sections because it takes a lot of time to do. And you don't want to spend a lot of time cutting infinite sections because you just figure it out in the field. Well, figuring it out in the field sometimes will cost you more money than figuring it out on paper. And since we involve the contractor early on, we can identify questions that he has and address them. And it's a back and forth conversation and team to cut down on what it's going to cost at construction.
And I just add to that just real quick, which is the building itself, when we're remodeling it, is going to have surprises, right? Sometimes we can predict them, sometimes we can't, but often we can, just experience, right? And those are one set of change orders. What the actual building is like, whether there's mold or whether there's whatever, a missing beam, that was really a thing one time. Anyway, and then the other half, and it might even be more than half, or just when the client doesn't fully understand the drawings. And that's either because they didn't understand the drawings or the architect didn't explain it well enough. And so that's half of the change orders. And those are the ones we want at zero. Because again, with virtual reality, is like, you want the floor darker or the cabinets lighter or whatever, put it on virtual reality and see, so we make, so that just works really well.
This is an important point to reiterate, because if you're doing a $300,000 reno, and that's, probably on the light end, you're, 18% more is a huge difference in that price point than 10%. So I just want to point out, like, paying a little bit more for the virtual reality plans and saving that kind of money, it's a big difference, really big difference. Plus, I think you go into the project a lot more confident. The difference is probably even bigger than this, because you're probably making better decisions all along the way.
Yeah. Since I've been involved with the virtual reality, and even before we got the virtual reality to the stage that we're at, just our program alone allowed us to do three-dimensionality. I haven't, in the last 20 years, first 5 years of my business life, I can count multiple times when a homeowner would say out in the field, this is not what I thought it was going to look like. Right. And then you show them on the drawings that, well, it's been that way since, and you show them the drawings and you say, that's this. And they're like, oh, I've never had that happen in the last 20 years. That now understood it. And particularly in the last 6 or 7 years, when Peter and I have developed this virtual reality to the degree that we have it. It just doesn't happen.
So I know this topic is so robust and so good. I want to go a little longer. Can you guys go a little over?
Sure.
A little time? Okay, so I had a couple more questions planned. I'm going to cut, I think, one of those. But I think a lot of people, I see this so often in real estate, a lot of people put so much thought and time and energy into the inside of the house, but then they forget about the exterior portion of the renovation, which we saw a beautiful video of an exterior you did. And I know you did the interior there too, but that's just what we used for this. But what are your thoughts about keeping the outside in mind? Because as we saw in that video, I mean, that's like a beautiful property.
Thank you. First off, thank you. Appreciate that. So as designers, we're always thinking of all of it all the time. So when we show our clients a floor plan, we'll model what we think the roof is going to be quickly, because the floor plan is going to change, but we have to know that we can make this floor plan absolutely gorgeous. And then Chris is, in the nicest conceivable way, just ruthless with like there's like the reality is that this roof is this big and this, and you can't like with a little sketch, Peter, make it different. It is what it is. But we're always thinking about the house as a three-dimensional puzzle. The inside is one piece, the outside is another piece, the volumes of the rooms inside, the adjacencies, the openness, the flow, all of that. We're always thinking about it all at once. And I think of it as juggling, right? So I've been designing houses for 30 years now. And so when I started, I could probably juggle maybe, I don't know, 9 or 10 balls at once. And now it's, especially with Chris, it's like 1,000, because we have this thing modeled like infinitely well. So there just are no surprises. So that's just, so the inside and the outside to me are no different. We're always doing all of it.
Well, I like hearing that. I see some beautiful insides, and then people have forgotten the outside. So,
and one more real quick thing is if
Uh-huh.
you think that, like, let's agree that the front of the house is curb appeal, so it has to be a 10 out of 10. Well, then the back of the house has to be at least a 15, because that's where you live, that's where you grill, that's where the kids play lacrosse and soccer or whatever, wiffle ball. And so you need that has to be even better. And that to me is like some of the most disappointing elevations I've ever seen on the backs of houses. And it's tragic. So,
yeah, I would agree with you. I hate when you have this buildup and then this, like, you fell off a 500-foot cliff,
Exactly.
So there's so many interesting and really cool things that you can do at a home or design in a home nowadays. Unfortunately, a lot of people are not working with unlimited budgets. Wouldn't that be great for all of us? So how can someone work with architects like you all and balance that cool factor with the money factor? So, tips for not blowing the budget, but tips for still getting things that are really cool.
I'll take this one again, Chris. So so it's really one of the things that so for sure, when you're interviewing an architect, ask about virtual reality. That's going to help. But forgetting about virtual reality for a second, I really think that our process of having 2 contractors at 2 different stages come in and give those cost estimates, because what as a person, if you go into a Chevy dealership or a Mercedes dealership, where you're going to spend more money. But in a house, we don't have that same feel as homeowners. And so does tile floor cost more or less than wood floor? What about anything else? This sink versus that sink or anything else. So that's what those multiple cost estimates do. They teach you, where the money's going. And then some things like let's just say the kitchen cabinets, we need that cool factor. Okay, great. So now we're $10,000 over budget. Where can we take $10,000 out? Because we need the 10 in that kitchen. And so, well, if we get a cheaper floor, $1 square foot cheaper, there's 8,000 or whatever. We start to play those games, and then we'll cover up the floor with furniture and rugs and all that stuff. So it's not as important to us as the cabinets. And so we're always playing that game back and forth to get people where they need to be. And again, this is, and this, and this is where Chris is, again, a stickler for the details. Like, here is this cost of this floor, we have to do better. And so now we'll go back and find one that now makes our new budget with the new kitchen cabinet, as I just made up.
Yeah. Chris, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Well, again, the virtual reality helps us show people the different things in a more realistic way, so that they can tell, well, do we really want to change the floor to this versus that, or do we really want to do, take away that ceiling height to save, $10,000, and that's how we do it in terms of trying to get the coolest things in the house that we can for the money that the owner has in their budget.
Yeah, very cool. I mean, I'm learning a lot about this as I go, but you all have been just, you're accessible and creative and talented and responsible with monetary decisions. It's just been a joy to work with you and to see your creativity. I mean, to see these other projects, I just, I feel like mine is so humble in comparison to many of these, but I know it's going to be a great house. So I'm eager to show it off. So guys, for those of you watching, 2E has a monthly e-newsletter. So reach out to any of us if you want. Here's their contact information. We're happy to always put you in touch with them if you misplace the video, or you're on the go and can't remember names and want Jennifer or me to help you get in touch. We're happy to do that. You've got their contact information here. I can't say enough about these two. I'm a fan, and I will be, and I hope some of you reach out to me and we can discuss these things, and maybe a move sadly isn't in your future, but I can help you with with improving your house and loving where you live. So the mail is here. I meant to put them in the kennel again and I forgot. I want to thank you both for being here today. Seriously, thank you so much. It was really good, and we could have talked another hour.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, and my pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.
If people have questions, is it okay if they reach out to you? Sometimes we get some after the fact on
Sure.
through Facebook or whatever, but sometimes there's some we can't answer. So so anyway, I encourage people to reach out. Again, this information will be available. We would love it if you would share it with people you know. If you know people who are just not happy with their house, tell them you heard a great bit of information today you'd like to share with them, and maybe you can open some doors for them. And I know they'll live in their house better and they'll love their house more. So, I'm all about that, and I know these guys are too. And if they do want to talk with a realtor about buying or selling or what's possible, or there's an area that you're interested in, or somebody's interested, I'm happy to do research for you. Or again, I wasn't kidding. If you're watching this from another part of the country and you need a realtor recommendation, let me know. I am part of a fantastic network. So we're going to catch you again in 2 weeks for Ask the Expert. I want to thank our experts for joining us. I want to thank Jennifer for being behind the curtain, so to speak. And we'll catch you next time.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Hey, thanks.